Hi, welcome back to the Bay Area Knitter Podcast. I'm Christine Marie Chen, also known as Bay Area Knitter on Instagram and Twitter. And today I have with me my friend Diana. She is also known as D Sadie on Instagram.
Hello.
And so she's going to be my special guest. Yay!
I'm glad to be here.
So let's see, what were we going to talk about? We have a few notes. How did we meet? On Instagram, right?
We met on Instagram. I think when I joined Instagram, I started looking for people that were knitters because that's obviously my big hobby. And so I don't do Facebook. I'm one of the few people in the world out there that don't do Facebook. So I was just on Instagram and I started searching for people that had knitting related names and posts, and I came across this very local sounding knitter name, Bay Area Knitter. I was like, oh, I've got to be friends with her. Where does she live in the Bay Area? And then it turned out that you were here in San Jose.
Right.
So we communicated on Instagram a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And then for a while I was trying to get you to join me at the knitting group that I go to. And I think you've come twice.
Yeah, knit night.
Yeah, so on Wednesday nights I go to this group. I think they're called the Silicon Valley Bay Area Knitters, and we meet in different coffee shops or different locations every week. It changes.
I like the pizza place.
The pizza place is good because you have something more substantial.
Right. I go there for dinner and knitting and...
Yeah, and then once a month we meet at Harry's Hofbrau, which I don't think you've come to, but
No.
there's food and then there's a full bar, so I
It
like that
seems like it
myself.
would be kind of loud.
It's loud. In
Yeah.
fact, when we go, there's on Wednesday nights there's a polka band that comes and plays. So it's really interesting to see all of these more senior people dancing and singing and laughing.
That would be funny.
Because of the polka band. It's a lot of fun. So I think you came once or twice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think then we met again at Stitches West 2 years ago.
Right.
And I was stuck without a ride, and then
Oh, yeah.
I asked you to give me a ride home, and you were like,
Do I know her or no? Was that before we'd met at the pizza place?
I think we had already met at the pizza place, but it was kind of a big request, but you did it, and you gave me a ride home, and I think we've just stayed more in touch on Instagram since then.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we met, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah, me too. Kind of sad that I didn't get to go to Stitches West this year because it's the first year I've missed in several years. We were in Seattle, so I missed it. But next year I'll be here. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I was going to ask, how long have you been knitting?
Well, I learned to knit when I was 14. My mom took me to go visit my grandmother in upstate New York, and at the time, she taught me how to knit. And like most other 14-year-old girls, I didn't really have the patience for it, but she taught me the basic stitches, and I came back, we went on the Amtrak, and so it was a long time of just downtime, and so I knit my first sort of garter stitch scarf. And you know, the yarn that I had wasn't the greatest, and I wasn't crazy about it, and I kind of just lost interest. And then probably about 5 years ago with my own daughter, I don't know if I've mentioned to you that I have a 19-year-old daughter.
Oh, actually no. I learned something too.
Yeah, she's off on her own.
Okay,
But
I think so.
when my daughter then was, I think, 14, she wanted to learn to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at a different place than I am now, and a coworker of mine was a knitter. And I had her come in, and my coworker taught her how to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And like most other 14-year-old girls, and she just kind of lost interest. She didn't have the patience for it. But I picked it up again, and I was really glad to do it again, and I got very excited about knitting. And then I just went on YouTube, and I started looking up videos and learning more stitches and learning about gauge, and I think I made another scarf, and then I got into shawls. At the time, shawls were my big thing. And it just sort of took off from there, especially once I joined the knitting group and I saw all of these great projects. I got a lot of inspiration to challenge myself and do more.
So when did you do your first sweater?
I did my first sweater, I think, about 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I've just been sweater crazy since then.
I know. I was going to say you're the sweater queen.
I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay.
My issue is I don't really like doing math.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit hard to calculate and get something to fit. So that first sweater that I did was enormous on me. First of all, it was knit in pieces,
Oh.
and it was like a bulky yarn, and it was an acrylic yarn that just wasn't really meant for sweaters.
Mhm.
So it was just massive, and it was a failure.
Oh man.
And then from there, I learned a little bit more about doing a gauge swatch and trying to get something to fit. And sometimes I do better than others. I try,
Right.
but that's the only issue that I have with sweaters. I'm always afraid they're not going to fit right.
Oh. So how many have you made? I mean, to be honest, I have never knit a sweater. It's not a secret anymore. I have not done a sweater yet, so that is on my to-do list. I'm mostly an accessories girl.
I'm surprised that you
So-
haven't. Yeah. Let's see. It looks like I have maybe about 6 sweaters, maybe a few more. Yeah.
Wow.
If you
That
if you
you've done,
consider
that
a
you've
tank
finished.
top a sweater, then
Mhm.
probably about 10.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Some of them I wear more than others. So this one here I just finished.
Mhm.
And this is using Kristen Omdell's bamboo sporty yarn.
Oh yay, Kristen! Yay!
Yeah, I loved her. I loved her. I picked it up at this Last Stitches, and just 2 skeins of her yarn
Mhm.
is enough for the sweater. The pattern is free,
Mhm.
and it's called the Kimmy Knit Lace Top. And it's done from the bottom up, and it's seamless. And then I added a little bit of beads.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I just put them
Yeah.
in the front. Thank you. So this is the last sweater that I finished, and I'm working on one more.
And that's for yarn too.
This one is a Kristen Omdell yarn.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I do really enjoy sweaters. I like cowls and shawls, and I usually have socks, and I have a variety of things that I'm knitting at once, but I almost always want to have a sweater
Right.
and always want to have a pair of socks.
Right. Something you can take with you, and I know I don't leave home without it.
Me either. It's always in my bag. God forbid we get stuck in traffic.
I know, right?
And we have no knitting to do.
That's true.
And the moments that you
Even
are
when you're driving?
yes.
Okay.
I haven't known to knit only during the red light.
Right, right. I think I've done a row or two. Occasionally, I'll have my kids in the back seat. Well, okay, that doesn't sound good, but anyway, my kids. No, I'll tell them. I'll say, "Tell me when the light turns green." No, I have done that. Yeah.
I'm also another thing you and I have been doing together is Fitbit, right?
Oh yeah.
So I've been trying to
So?
yay Fitbit buds.
Yay!
So I've been trying to walk a lot more because knitting is not really a very active hobby.
Yeah, right.
So I have been known to walk and knit at the same time.
I've done that.
So probably about 90% of these socks have been done while I'm walking.
Oh wow.
So I can get myself to walk a lot more and not worry about it when
Right.
I'm walking. But it's probably not the safest thing to do.
Right. Well, I did. One of the moms at the school, she was on the other side of the street one time, and I was walking knitting. And of course, everybody always sees me knitting at school all the time. They know me as the knitter, I guess. And I didn't know she was watching or that she was across the street. And all of a sudden, I hear somebody say, "Look at that! She even knits while she's walking." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
Yep. It depends on what you're doing. It's got to be
Mhm.
something with a simple stitch
Right.
and small. That's why I like doing socks.
Right. Garter stitch is good for that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mhm.
So how, well, okay, looking at my notes again, but anyway, we talked about how long you've been knitting. I actually started about 9 years ago.
Wow, that's longer than I have.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I don't really count that I learned when I was 14 because I
Mhm.
put it down. I'd say total I've probably been knitting about 5.
Okay. Did
So-
you ever crochet?
No, well,
No?
I've tried it and I can't. I just can't. In fact, Kristen Omdell was talking to me about this at
Uh-huh.
Stitches West. She was like, you just gotta have to find the pattern that you really like,
Right.
and it's gonna make you want to crochet.
One of
And
hers, maybe.
Probably. She put out some patterns for this yarn and crochet, and I kept
Mhm.
writing her saying, I really want a knitted top.
Mhm.
She's like, it's coming and it's coming.
Yay.
But I haven't really crocheted much. I have done like crocheted edgings on some garments, but
Mhm.
I haven't really done a full crochet garment or piece at all.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I started crocheting when I was a kid, and I just did granny squares, and I ended up doing lots of baby blankets and granny square that would grow and grow. Not the ones that you would piece together, but just one big, ginormous granny square. So that's what I did, when I was younger. But the knitting actually started about 9 years ago after my son was born.
And did you want to make things for him?
Uh, yeah. I actually made him a little lovey, like those little loveys the kids have that look like a square piece of fabric. And it has a head on one corner and the feet connected. I actually knit one of those for him. So he still has it too, and he's 9. He sleeps with it.
Oh, that's so adorable.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
I like that.
And baby blankets. And I did one stuffed animal one time, a little mouse, I think. Yeah.
I've never done a stuffy yet.
I should design some.
You should.
Some people like those little.
They're great gifts.
What do they call them? Amigurumi or?
Yep.
Amigurumis. But
I wonder. Those.
Do some of those maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I do that? Should I design some?
I can't wait to hear the comments you get on that one.
I know. So anyway, do you have a favorite kind of knitting needle or?
Yes.
Yarn or?
I'm not using them here, but my favorite needles that I have is my Gu interchangeables.
I love those.
I love the wire being nice and flexible. I like the really sharp points on them. I like the sizes that the kit that I have comes in, and they don't unscrew as much as some of the other interchangeable sets that I've had, so those are my favorite needles to have. I have yet to try signatures. I know that they're sort of like, the best, most expensive ones.
I don't think I've tried them either.
I take that back. I think I tried them at Stitches, how they sometimes have them out, and they're
yarn
very,
yarn tasting.
Yeah. I tried them, and they were very light, and I like them, but I can't get myself to spend $40 a set of needles.
Oh gosh,
maybe someday.
I've seen they're the ones that have the stiletto tips, I think. I would love to try those sometime.
For lace, those are great.
Are they?
I know that when I do lace work, the sharper the tip is, and the better they do with lace.
Oh, right. You probably wouldn't want them for other yarn. It might split the yarn easily.
And depending on the yarn and the ply, if it's got a 2-ply, they say that it's not so good for really sharp tip needles because it splits it.
I've had trouble with some 1-plies too, with it being like it just kind of splits the roving.
Yeah, it's a little airy.
Yeah.
And let's see, favorite yarns. I really like a lot of the Madeline Tosches, and I really like Anzula. Love Anzula yarns. In fact, this sock is made out of their squishy.
Oh, nice.
And it is squishy. So,
may I squish it?
Squish, squish.
Squish. Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
It is squishy.
And the pattern on these, and I'll bring them close so that you could see, it's just a simple cable.
Yeah, nice texture or stitch definition too.
Yeah.
Show them
so
that.
These are called the Bleaberry Tarn. I might not be saying that right. But it's just a simple stockinette with one little cable. And it's been really easy. These are a gift for my aunt that my mom is going to go visit. So I have a deadline on these.
Oh, cool.
But I love this yarn, and I love all the other Anzula yarns. I have not used too many of them, but everything I have used, I really, really enjoyed. I have a worsted weight yarn that, I don't know if it's still called this, it's called For Better or Worsted.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think that's it.
And I made a shawl out of it, and I love it.
I just finished a square one. I'm doing the mitered squares, and this is with the Anzula Cloud. So it's really light and airy and super soft.
Yeah. Oh, it is really soft.
Yeah.
And then once you block it, I love seeing how much yarns bloom and soften up.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I like it. It's really soft and squishy.
If you could put it to your neck, then it's definitely soft.
It would make a nice cowl. Yeah.
Yeah, I would want that against my skin. So I really like to have socks all the time because it's portable. But then I always have something else going too. So maybe I can talk about some of my works in progress.
Yeah.
So I mentioned my whips.
Yep.
So I talked about these socks that I'm working on, and then just spoiler alert, I'm working on the Through the Loops 2015 Mystery Knit Along
Oh,
by
cool.
Kristen Kapoor.
Oh, nice.
And so this is a shawl that I'm doing, and she releases a new clue every Sunday night. So midnight my time is when it's released, so it's 9 o'clock Central Time.
Wow, that's pretty.
So, like I said, spoiler alert, if you're doing this and you don't want to see, look away.
Don't look if you're doing this one.
But it's a really beautiful lace shawl. And I'm using Madeline Tosh Light. And it's going to be 2 colors. So right now I'm using this reindeer color. And then I think in the next couple weeks we get to introduce another color, and I have this no, that's reindeer. This one's called leopard. So it's a nice, pretty, deep gray. And I wanted something that would have some sort of natural colors. So I don't know what it's going to look like at the end.
Wow.
I'm a sucker for knit-alongs. I
Oh,
really
cool.
like mystery knit-alongs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one that I'm working on.
It's gorgeous.
Thanks, I really like it. And then another knit-along that I'm doing is another sweater called Gather Together by Hohilo Coletti. And I love her patterns. Are you familiar with hers?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I think I have it here.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a sweater that has a nice cable
Oh, yeah, there you go.
on the yoke, and then it's basically simple stockinette after
Mhm.
that.
Beautiful.
And the construction of it is you do that cable, and then
Mhm.
you pick up top and bottom around it. So I'm working on the cable here.
So stretch it out.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So this is the yarn that I was saying is similar in
Wow.
color to
Oh,
one of your
yeah.
mitered squares.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Madeline Tosh MCN, and it's I think 80% merino and 20% cashmere and 20% nylon.
Wow.
So it's a different construction in that you start with this cable and then you kind of move around it, and I'm very far behind in this knit along. But it's kind of hard to do sweaters at this time of year.
Right.
Especially it's been incredibly hot here lately.
Oh, yeah. It has.
Yeah, so there's the rest of my skein. I love it.
I love
I
that
have
color.
a girlfriend that says this reminds her of ripe banana.
It does. Yeah.
I love that.
It's almost this color, too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's funny how you get drawn to certain
Right,
colors. I think
right.
I'm in my yellow
You're
phase
in the
right
yellow
now.
phase.
Yep.
And the one square that we were talking about was this one. So see, it's about the same color.
Mhm. Yeah. I like that color right now.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 main things that I'm working on right now. I have some other UFOs in my room that I won't even talk about because they've been unfinished for too long.
I have my eye on that top one. That one looks really interesting.
This is a shawl. This is a
Mhm.
Nymphalydia shawl. And I finished this a couple months ago. Not even 2 months ago.
Wow, it's pretty. I love those colors too.
Thanks. I love it. It's kind of, when I try to wear it, I'm never sure what the right way to wear it is because of, it's not flat. It's kind of a triangle.
Right.
So I've worn it a couple different ways. And this, like I said, is a Nymphalydia, and you use a lighter weight yarn for this part, and then the welts is a little bit heavier. So this is, it's called Pettiboo. I can't remember the yarn maker, but it's got a little bamboo in it, and that's a sport. And then the color, the variegated yarn, is LRA lace.
Oh, okay.
So that's the Nymphalydia shawl. I love it. It was a lot of fun to knit.
It looks fun.
Yeah.
I like that, the combination of the welts with the lace.
Yeah, it keeps it interesting because you'll be knitting it and then you'll say, okay, I'm just going to go until I get to the next welt.
Right.
Or you'll be doing the lace, and it's almost like when you're doing something striped, it kind of keeps you motivated
Right.
to keep moving on to the next thing. So that's a shawl I just finished. And then, Christine, I don't know if I've shown you this one, but
I
this
don't
is
think
the
so.
In Stillness sweater that I
Ooh,
finished.
Wow.
So I feel like I'm covering up the whole
Oh no,
screen
that's
here.
fine. Show it off. Faux show.
Faux
This
show.
is the faux show.
So this one is Plymouth Yarn's Silky Merino.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure that I say the designer's name right, so I'm going to pull it up here.
All right.
But I
Pull it
had
up
that
while I'm
yarn.
cutting it.
You've had it while I look it up. I had that yarn in my stash for probably 4 years, and
Wow.
it just took me the longest time to find something that I was going to do with it, and I like it because it's got great drape because of all the silk.
Mm-hmm. It's got a little sheen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the silk gives it that. So it's called In Stillness, and it's by Alicia Plummer. Alicia Plummer. And that was also a knit along.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I finished it
I like that
just in
texture
time.
too.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of texture there in the center, and then it's just stockinette.
Yeah. Very lovely.
Thank you. This is fun. I get to show everything off to people who
I
actually
know,
appreciate
right?
it.
So are you going to have a lot of things to show next time?
Oh, no pressure there.
I know, right?
And then the last thing is this other sweater, which I recently finished, and I know what it's called, but now I'm forgetting, so I want to pull that up as well. Oh, the Lake Breeze by Amanda Woger. So that's the Lake Breeze by Amanda Woger.
Oh, look at that cable.
Mm-hmm. It's a really pretty cable.
Mm-hmm.
So I used Swan Lake.
I love Swan Lake.
I loved it. It's so soft. So you can see at the very top, I made my cables upside down. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm holding this right. My first cable is reversed, and then I got it right all the way down.
Uh-huh.
But it's usually folded over.
So nobody knows.
Nobody knows. It's a
You.
little warm right now for a wool sweater, but I love how it feels.
Oh yeah, that's pretty. Oh, soft. Show off the back. Here, turn more.
So those are the things I recently finished.
Yay.
And I don't know that I'm going to have much the next time we talk.
Should have warned you to save something for next time. No,
Well,
that just
hopefully
means
I'll
you
have-
have to knit more.
I know. Hopefully I'll have the socks done, although those are getting shipped off.
Aw.
So
We'll have to-
those are my whips and my faux. What do you got?
Well, let's see. I didn't bring very much because, since I drove here and I wanted to highlight you. But, I brought one of my shawls, actually the first shawl I ever did. And this was done with the Fiber Company's Terra yarn. And I kind of designed this myself, but since it was when I was first getting started designing, I didn't actually write the pattern out. So it's something I've been meaning to do. I may have to reknit it and just write the pattern as I go. It would be pretty easy though.
I really like the bottom edge here.
Yeah,
Are
I
these
did.
elongated
Yeah,
stitches?
just elongated stitches down at the bottom. And I've worn it to Stitches West, and I've worn it when I've gone to TNNA before, and people always comment on that edging.
What yarn is this?
It's the Fiber Company Terra.
Right.
Terra yarn, yeah. And I
Very
used
soft.
3 different colors. I can't remember. I think this was olive. I don't remember if that was the name of it. But then the blue is the indigo, and I believe this is called eggplant. Don't quote me on those names, but on the color names. But I think that was what I used.
Super pretty.
I do know it was the Fiber Company Terra.
Those colors go well with you too.
Oh, thanks.
With your skin tone, yeah.
So yeah.
It looks nice.
Thanks. And then I'm wearing a cowl that I recently designed, and I got this yarn from an alpaca farm in Oklahoma last year while I was visiting, and I need to show you who it was.
It feels like a cloud.
It does. It feels like a cloud, and they didn't really have a name for the yarn. There wasn't a label when I got the yarn, but it's from Awesome Acres Packas and Piers. This is their website, just packasandpiers.com. If you can see that. They raise alpacas, and then they have their yarn milled, And you can actually buy the yarn on their website.
And is it all their natural colors, or are they dyed? I imagine this is a natural
Actually,
color.
I think these are all their natural colors. So this is some of the yarns they have on their website right now. And I'll put their link in the show notes. It's pacasandpyrs.com, PACASNPYRS.com. And I do believe, I think it's a Surrey. Surrey, is that how you say it? S-U-R-I, alpaca?
I think you're saying it right.
Surrey alpaca, yeah.
I love that.
It's so soft.
How many yards did you use in that?
I don't remember.
Was it one full skein?
It was. I think it was just about one full skein. And I'll get this pattern written up and try to get it posted to Ravelry, and I'll get the link to their website on the show notes for everybody to see.
It's a very basic pattern, and that's all you need with such beautiful, luscious yarn like that.
Right. So it just showcases the yarn, and it's got a nice halo.
Yeah.
It's really soft and fuzzy. So yeah.
Very pretty.
I love it. I wore it to TNNA this last time too.
Did you get a lot of compliments?
I did. Yeah. So then the other thing I'm working on, everybody knows I'm doing the mitered square sock yarn blanket. So far I've gotten up to, let's see, 2, 3, I think I started my 8th square last night. There are 6 here, I added a 7th, and then I have the Anzula one in the cloud that I still need to connect.
I love that you can just use your scraps of yarn for this.
Oh yeah.
Because we all have just little bits and ends.
Perfect stash buster. So you need to make one too.
I should. It's finding the time to knit all the things.
Right.
But I see some people on Instagram that say, oh, I have 200 out of 386 squares done. And I'm thinking, how do you ever have time for that?
Well, some of those people I think have been working on theirs for a couple of years, which is probably what's going to happen to me, because I'll be designing and then I'll just, maybe do a square between designs, or in the evening right before I go to bed I work on it, do a few rows, or I did make a goal to where I want to try to do one square every 2 days in July. So maybe I can at least get 14 or 15 squares done in July.
That's a good obtainable goal.
Yeah.
The thing that intimidates me, I must say, is all the loose ends to weave in.
Oh yes. So I'm debating. I think I'm going to start weaving them in as I go. Some people leave them till the end, but then that leaves you with like thousands of loose ends. So there are lots and lots of straggly loose ends to weave in. But yeah, I think as you go would be a good idea.
A little bit. Maybe set a goal to weave in so many loose ends and do so many squares.
Right. And I mentioned on my last podcast of the Facebook group that I joined that we swapped the sock yarn little mini skeins. And so I've been doing that, and I also did a couple of individual swaps with friends on Instagram. Last time I showed the skeins that I got from Techie Mom of 6, and then this week I got some from, I think her name, it's Joe Mama Knits on Instagram.
I love that.
Joe Mama. Her name is Joe, so she goes by Joe Mama Knits. And so I swapped with her. You can't really see them very well. And I'm not really sure which yarns these are. Some people label them when you swap with them and some don't. So she just sent me some that were not labeled, but they're all beautiful and gorgeous.
Do you know what the fiber content is even? Like, are they all wool?
They're mostly, I think they all have to be wool. In the swap on Facebook, the requirement is no acrylic and no cotton. So anything else is okay. But these are all the ones I got from Joe Mama Knits.
I like that gray.
Oh yeah, that one's really nice. It looks like the Madeline Tosh you had.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is.
That's kind of the fun part of it too.
Yeah.
It's the mystery.
That's true. The one, when I did my swap with Techie Mom of 6, there were actually three mini skeins I made up from my stash that I had no idea what they were. And so I just labeled them for her and said, these are mystery yarns. And then I got a surprise in the mail. I ordered from Wolf Farms, from Knittin' Wolf. She's Knittin' Wolf on Instagram. Her name is Dawn. And her husband, James, he's actually been crafting yarn bowls. And so I ordered this from them recently.
So pretty.
It is. And it's wood. It's wood. It's so, the way he finishes it, it's so smooth, and no two are going to be alike.
One of a kind.
It is. This is his third one.
That would be perfect for one of those Yowza skeins.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
The Miss Babs Yowza, that's a huge, massive, what is it, 560 yards?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Would it fit? This one has my, I have my Manos del Uruguay in here right now with for the design I'm working on. So that's in here. And you just, your yarn just slides so smoothly. No snagging. Good job, James. It's beautiful.
I love that. I might need to get one myself.
Yeah. I don't know how often he's going to have them, but this was the third one that he did, and each time that he finishes one, I think they're going to post it on Instagram. But
and he signed it on the bottom, right?
Yeah, signed it, even put that it was number 3, handcrafted by James Wolf. He's also known as Wolf Photos on Instagram, and his wife Dawn is Knittin' Wolf. And they do a podcast. It's called Wolf Farms. They've got a little farm, and she knits and he does his handicrafts. Very cool. And she surprised me when I opened it. She had included some little mini skeins. She's, I guess, seen that I'm doing the sock yarn blanket, so she had to include some yarn for me as well. So thank you, Dawn.
What a nice surprise.
Yeah. Now she's going to also be part of my blanket.
It'll be neat when you have it all done and you can hopefully remember where at least some of the squares come from and have an association and a memory to go with it. Yeah.
Well, I think when I do hers, I'm gonna put hers all in one section together on the blanket.
That's
so that
smart.
Instead of just mixing them up everywhere, I'm gonna connect all of hers so I can remember that I got them from her.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I've heard some people talk about how sometimes there's scraps from socks. And of course, when they have the final product, they think about what they were doing when they made those socks and who they gave them to, or it's a great memory.
Right. Dawn is actually doing one of these blankets. Or actually, she just finished a blanket. She finished the whole blanket, and I think she said she knows where each square came from.
How many squares?
I don't know. You'll have to share that with us, Dawn. I don't remember how many squares she did, but I know as she was showing it off, she would say, and I got this one from so-and-so, and this one from so-and-so, and
that's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's see, was there anything else?
Are you working on anything else? Or you have any designs that you may or may not be able to talk about?
I am. I'm doing, you guys probably know, I'm still working on the design for Manos del Uruguay. And I showed a little sneak peek. I'll just go like this. Of course, they could also pause it and study the stitches, couldn't they? But no. I'm actually working on a design for Manos right now, and that's going to be a set. 2 things that match. And then I'm also getting ready to start on another design for Red Heart. There, I have to adjust this a little bit.
I know, I keep moving around, kind of staying
there we go.
In focus.
I think the curtains split open a little bit, so I had a glare behind my head.
Oh.
But, so yeah, I've got a design for Red Heart that I'm getting ready to start. So I probably can't tell you what that's going to be.
You can't even say what type of item it is?
I'll say it's going to be for a kid.
Okay.
It's a children's item. So I've done a couple of those for them. So, and It's going to be a medium size item this time, not just something quick and easy. It's a little bit bigger, and it's going to come in 4 different sizes. That's all I'm going to say.
I can't wait to see what it is.
So, yep.
You didn't even bring that with you.
No, I didn't. I don't think I brought much else with me. Let's see. Let me glance at my notes real quick. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about or share?
No. I know that once we're done with the podcast, I was going to ask that you help take my measurements
Oh,
for
right.
the custom fit sweater that I want to do out of this yarn that I just got. I bought it from someone on Ravelry, and it's a Color Mart yarn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not too familiar with Color Mart yarns, but what I do know is that it comes from the mills in Europe, and so it's
Oh.
really fine quality yarn,
Mm-hmm.
and it's normally sold in a cone. And I just bought it from someone else on Ravelry. I love being able to do that.
Right.
You go through the stashes and you find someone.
Oh, yeah.
And all I knew is that I wanted a black sweater, and so I
Mhm.
just ended up with this.
Could wear that with anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a little swatch, and I wanted to do a custom fit sweater, and I once before took my measurements, and then winter came.
Mhm.
And so I need to
Aw.
I need to take my measurements again.
So as soon as we log off here, we'll be doing measurements.
Yep, we're gonna get real intimate.
Get intimate, right?
Yeah. So maybe
And then we'll share her measurements with you guys.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, we will not.
Just kidding.
That would be bad.
Okay.
So we'll be doing that, but it'd be nice to see if I ever am on your podcast again to see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. We should do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Were we going to talk about some other podcasts that we like?
Oh yeah, I did. Let's see. So I was asking her if she ever listened to any other podcasts or watched any other podcasts. I like, of course, Wolf Farms. That's one of my favorites that I religiously try to watch. I also enjoy watching the Stockinette Zombies and In a Snit. Those are some of my favorites. And I also really enjoy watching Susan B. Anderson. And I'm trying to get more into listening to the podcasts on iTunes, like the Knitmore Girls and Marley Bird's podcast. Yeah, so those are some of the ones that I really enjoy. Which ones do you like?
Well, there's a lot of podcasts that I'd like to watch and listen to, but because I have a full-time job, it interferes with my knitting and my ability to, really be able to take my time and watch and listen, because when I watch podcasts, I feel totally enabled, and so then I want to pause it and I want to go into Ravelry and see what they're working on.
Right.
So it's been hard for me because of work. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I try to secretly watch the Marley Bird podcast, and then she does a live giveaway and then a comment giveaway. So if you're watching live, she does a giveaway, you call in. So I'm usually listening through my computer, and then at a certain time she says, okay, it's time to call in for the prize. So then I will call in, and I did win once. And then there's also a chat room, and I really like that because I get to talk to some of the other people listening. So her friend Tammy, who does all her show notes, she's usually on there, and I speak with her and some of the other people quietly, right?
Oh, right.
Because it's I can type pretty fast.
Right.
So I listened to, or I watched that one, and I also used to watch, the Knitmore Girls and the Stockinette Zombies and a whole bunch of other podcasts. I can't even remember them all. I think I had 14 different on my iPod, and my iPod started running out of space.
Right.
But I just ran out of time.
Yeah.
So I just haven't really been watching or listening too much, but now I'm following your podcast.
Yay.
It's my new favorite.
Yay. You didn't have to say that, but
Well, it's different when you actually know the person.
Right,
It's
right.
it's just much more personal in
Right.
that way.
Right.
Yeah, so I can't wait until you're talking about it's your podcast number 153
I
or
know.
more, This
Right?
is what, your third or fourth?
This is the 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to see you grow in that way from the beginning.
Well, I'll be looking back on these laughing, going, "Oh my gosh, look what." Look how nervous I was, or look how unprofessional this was.
You're doing great.
No.
You're fine.
Uh, so, anyway, oh, and I did have 2 winners that I needed to announce from the last podcast. I had asked for you to leave a comment on the blog show notes or on the YouTube comment section under this or under that episode, and just to let me know, like, the length of episode, what you thought was the best length for a podcast episode. And so pretty much what I got from that was just whatever length it takes to get what, what's said or what done that needs to be said or done. So anyway, the giveaway was for one of my patterns on Ravelry. I have patterns that I sell on Ravelry, as well as ones that I've actually knit for or designed for magazines and yarn companies, but the giveaway was for a pattern that I sell on Ravelry myself, that I've self-published. So I used the random number generator.
I witnessed this.
She witnessed it. I did it when I got here. So drum roll. Yay. So our winner for one of my patterns from the YouTube comments is Needlecrafter02 on Instagram. That's her name. It's Needlecrafter02 on Instagram. So contact me and I'll get one of my patterns off to you. Let me know which one you want. And for the winner on the blog, which is bayarea.knitter.blogspot.com, the winner for the blog comment was Tina BW. So if you're Tina BW, also get in touch with me and I'll get your pattern off to you.
Congratulations to the 2 of you.
Yay! And I'm planning to have more contests and giveaways. Right now I'm not having one this time, but I may have one every other episode. They're kind of random right now. That was my second giveaway. First one, I gave away a skein of yarn. And
I think you should give away a skein of yarn for this one, so I will give you a skein of yarn.
no, I'm giving you a skein of yarn.
Wait a minute. Thank you, but I'd like for you
No,
to...
actually.
Wow.
I brought a skein of yarn for Diana, and it's the Cascade Yarns, the Cascade 220 Sport Yarn, and I hope she likes blue. I think I remember her saying she liked blue before.
I go through changes, but I haven't done anything in blue for a while.
That's
So
your
thank
gift.
you. You're so sweet.
That's your gift for being on my episode, on my podcast.
Thanks. Well, I would like to
So-
donate a skein of yarn.
You would?
Yes, because I want...
You don't have to.
I know.
Aw.
I know.
Okay.
But I want people to comment on your podcast.
Aw, she's
And
so
I know
sweet.
I'm
Look at
more
her.
likely
Oh.
to comment on a podcast if there's a giveaway. I'm being honest.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is yet, but before we leave tonight, I will give you a skein of yarn. So
Oh.
comment below. Put your
Okay.
comment. What do you want to hear about? What did you like?
Okay, and
Um,
so any comment counts, I guess, right?
Anything.
Okay.
And tell people about the podcast. I want Christine to have lots of followers. And
Aw, thank you.
I'm just so happy for you. So
Aw,
yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for the skein.
You're welcome.
Yay.
I wanted to give you a little something. you
What a
know?
nice surprise. I thought that taking
So-
my measurements was going to be enough.
Silly girl. Well, that was another surprise. I had no idea she wanted to throw in a skein of yarn for one lucky winner out there.
Yep.
So I guess you leave a comment on this, on the YouTube comment section or on the blog, and I'll just combine all the comments and choose one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds
great.
good.
All right. Well, it's nice meeting everybody.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you for coming
Follow
to see us. Yeah.
follow us on Instagram and on Ravelry. I'm DSadie, so DEESADIE.
On both.
On both
Same?
Ravelry
Okay.
and Instagram. And I know yours is different. It's
Yeah.
Bay Area
mine's
Knitter.
Bay Area Knitter on Instagram and Twitter, and on Ravelry it's actually Needle to Needle. The word needle with the number 2 and then needle all run together because somebody else has the Bay Area Knitter name and they never use their account.
That's
So
such a bummer.
I know, so right now there's no way to get it, but even if you type in Bay Area Knitter on Ravelry, my account pops up next to theirs because you know, there's things in my account that say Bay Area Knitter, so it still comes up. So either way, you'll find me on there.
Ravelry has such great search features.
Oh, yeah.
I recently found out that you can search by gauge.
Oh, really?
Did you know that you can do that? Yeah.
I think so. On the left-hand side where you can put in different requirements that you want.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, if I decide that I want to knit something with the gauge that I have here, instead of trying to find the gauge, I can just say, this is my gauge, and it'll tell me what patterns
Right.
are made with that gauge. So there's
that's
just
cool.
so many search options on Ravelry.
And just by gauge, you don't even have to put what size needles or anything? Or...
No, because the gauge changes depending
Right.
on the needle and the yarn that you use, right?
Very cool.
Yeah. So probably on your page you have Bay Area Knitter on there, and just
Right.
from the keyword search it pulls you up. That's good.
Yeah.
Since you don't have the name, it's still
And then
associated.
if they click on the one that actually says Bay Area Knitter, they'll just see that there's nothing there, and so they'll go to the other one and see that that's me.
You're the way cooler one.
Aw. Well, thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, I guess that just about does it. So
Thanks for having me.
you're welcome. Hopefully she'll be with us again soon.
I hope so too.
Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.